Worldwide, postal scams netted the fraudsters a cool $10 billion last year. Now, behind that huge statistics, there are hundreds of thousands of real human stories. People who've been conned and cheated.
Attached are documents attesting your right to a triple treaty for a fulfilled life. So there's something there for me.
Betty looks forward to letters like this landing on her doormat most mornings.
Destiny is sometimes strange, but above all, for you today, destiny is now generous and benevolent. I mean, I don't get any chat with people and listen to this on the telly, what should be happening, we're here and there and there. I don't have anybody to converse with here. I'm just talking to myself. I do talk to myself.
So Betty loves her letters, but her pen pals are costing her money. Her sons, Jonathan and Kevin, are worried about their mother giving away her cash.
They promise that she's won huge sums of money, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. I believe I've even seen 100 million, I'm not sure. I've seen huge, fantastic amounts, ridiculous amounts. The other area is the more personal angle, where they're pretending to be highly qualified psychics, clairvoyants and so on, where they will be promising friendship, they'll be promising inheritances, and they'll be promising good luck, etc. for the future.
The last year it came to a head. The bank informed the police because there was Mum tried to sell an ISA to keep her habit going, and we had a community police officer come round and explain the situation. We looked at her bank statements and realised how much money she was spending, and it was in 4 figures.
And this fee, and it's because they sit up half the night to write my letter to me, so I have something from them, they have something from me, and that's my thanks. That fee is my thanks for what they've done for me, if you understand it. A lot of people won't understand that.
She feels that some of these are her friends, and which is ridiculous, because the only purpose they're doing this is to make money out of her. She doesn't realise that. She believes that these people aren't writing to anyone else, just to her.
And 25 quid, what's that? Kids used to get that for their home, for their pocket money, if she thinks that of me and wants to give me, you know, health and wealth and that. What do you think? You know, and she's my friend. Of course, of course. If she's doing something to me and is helping me, yes, I will have it.
She's addicted to this this thing that she's in, and it's so difficult to try and convince her otherwise. If you try and convince her otherwise, then you become the enemy.
It's because it's something she has to do. She feels uncomfortable if she doesn't do it, because that's actually what has happened. It has become an addiction now.
We informed the bank that she didn't need a chequebook anymore, but the thing is, she still tries to do it via postal order.
However, the local post office is a useful ally in thwarting the poison pen friends.
Real friends don't ask for money, so we came to an agreement where we sort of just didn't, we'd run out of postal orders, and that's what we did for a few months.
Could I have some postal orders? And then he'd make out this and that, and he'd say, oh no, you can't get them now. But I know that was a trick. So what can you do if people don't want to follow what you're doing? And so that was it.
I actually feel as if there's no route out of this. I have no power to take over her financial affairs or to take over the control of what post she receives. So there's no way I can stop this coming in.
Power of attorney might have helped Betty's sons to protect her finances, but it can't be granted without her consent.
We have to physically take our mother to court to get power of attorney.
And we know it's a very common problem. Millions of pounds are being spent by people, and yet there seems to be no mechanism with which to deal with it.
And it's the idea that you've got someone who's literally a scumbag that's conning money out of my mother.
She saved her money very, very carefully, penny by penny, pound by pound, for decades. That money is disappearing fast, and I'm worried that before very long there'll come a point when the money has completely disappeared. And that might be the only way that the scams will stop, because once she's got no money left, she can't pay them anymore. Which will be a very sad solution to the whole event.
For older people who enjoy writing and receiving letters, there are organisations nationwide that can help with some genuine correspondence.
Letter writing is a bit of a dying art, and that's something that we recognised at the Silver Line, and we introduced a new service called Silver Letters, and that's where our vetted volunteers write to an older person. The letters come through us at the Silver Line, so we can make sure that everything's all safe and positive experience for everybody. And we ran that as a pilot last year, but now we're able to offer that as one of our services, so that actually having a pen friend, if you like, your silver letter friend, can be a really positive experience. And it's what we have is a free service. Nobody is ever going to ask you for any money in exchange for friendship.
The telephone can be a lifeline for people who live alone, but for some unscrupulous scammers, it's a way into people's homes that allows them to gain their trust while remaining unseen. Edward's life has been devoted to music, with a distinguished career as a composer, musician and teacher. Now in his 80s, he still plays and has private pupils. Edward was lured into a web of lies spun on the end of a phone line by ruthless scammers out to con him.
I got to the point when I dreaded the phone going. It really became an ordeal.
OK, let's go into deep...
He was sold a plug-in energy-saving device, something which might be a bonus on a tight budget.
I mean, I paid something like £100 for it, and I put it into the circuit. There was a small explosion, and everything went off in that part of the circuit.
Edward's device was not genuine and was deliberately faulty and potentially dangerous. This is a well-known scam, and the next stage is a compensation racket. Edward was hooked in by a call offering help to make a claim.
But first, I would have to pay in £25. It was about £25. I did that, and then they were sending a man with my money to my address, and he phoned, said he was on his way, and I tried to direct him as best I could, and he never got to me. He got lost, and the next day he phoned and said he'd been told off by his superior for his inefficiency, but I'd have to pay it again.
Once they reeled him in, the scammers relentlessly made up new stories to get Edward to pay up. This had been going on for months before community warden Gary Harrison became involved.
Okay. Do you feel like a cup of tea?
It was quite a few £125 in the early stages, wasn't there?
Yes, it was.
And then it went up to £250, and it went up to eventually to thousands of pounds to get your money back, because you're in a stage now where you'd already given them a vast amount of money, hadn't you?
Exactly.
So eventually, then you got up to all of your money, all of your life savings are gone, all of your money that you had left to you gone. And you had to borrow money to keep up with this scam, didn't you?
Yes.
Because you felt now you were so involved.
I felt morally obliged to get it back.
Over a period of 6 months or more, wasn't it? You felt morally obliged, and he kept convincing you just one last payment.
That's right.
And then they're going to come round to your house, you told me, with a suitcase with £80,000 in, you told me.
80,000.
80,000.
That was they wanted to go up to £1 million. I said, I don't want to go up to £1 million. 80,000 is more than enough.
It's unclear whether Edward was prey to more than one scammer, but the most persistent caller, going by the alias of Kevin Parker, would use any low trick in the pursuit of emptying Edward's bank account.
He was actually crying on the end of the phone, wasn't he, saying that if you don't put that money in the bank account, he's going to lose his job and his children will starve.
That's right, because he said his wallet had been stolen, all the credit cards and a lot of cash in it, and unless he'd repaid his firm, they were going to sack him. And his family was dependent on him.
Even after Edward had been scammed out of his entire life savings, the calls just kept coming in.
You know, it used to upset me when I used to come round your house and he was on the phone and you were chatting to him and he was still trying to get the deeds of your house, basically, because he knew you had no more money left.
I was very definite about that. I never let them think that was ever a possibility. I really didn't.
The scammers even got control of Edward's bank account and used it to launder money they had scammed from other victims.
And within 1 week, £9,000 went into your bank account, didn't it?
Yes.
And luckily, we managed, with the help of Kent Police and the bank, and all of those people that had been scammed like you for the amounts of money that they had already paid in, they all eventually got their money back, which was fantastic.
That was wonderful.
And that really upset Kevin Parker, didn't it? He was very angry with you.
He wept for 5 minutes over the phone, and he was going to be out of a job and all this.
Yeah.
Totally over that period, I had paid out about £52,000. It was about £52,000.
Edward has come through this awful experience with the help of Gary and friends and neighbours in his local community.
Everyone rallied round. Nobody judged me. Everybody supported me, and they sympathised. But I've had every help I could possibly imagine. The world has changed, and I think we grew up feeling we could trust people. If somebody phoned you and offered you something for money, you could trust what they said. And I'm still in that groove of way of looking.
Once they've started speaking to an older person, once they've identified someone as a victim, then they will basically use a process of grooming. But what they'll do is they'll build up a relationship. And, you know, for someone who is perhaps lonely at home, then if they're getting a phone call from someone on an occasional basis who takes an interest in them, that trust builds up very, very quickly.
So always be suspicious when you pick up the phone and you're dealing with someone that you've never heard of before. I think our top tip is, if you feel uncomfortable or you feel under threat at any time of someone trying to scam you, simplest thing is put the phone down. A really successful new technology is something called call blockers, which is really good at helping protect you from scam calls.
The very basic blockers work on a block list, a list of phone numbers that they'll block. And we've said, rather than build a list of the people you don't want to speak to, there are thousands of those and they change their numbers all the time, let's have a list of the people you do want to speak to, because there are a few dozen of those and they don't change their numbers. And when a call from one of those people comes through, then the blocker allows it through. Anybody else is intercepted, and we found that this approach will block 95% or more of nuisance calls and can be very, very effective.
The sleepy seaside town of Eastbourne is not slumbering when it comes to scam busting. It's the hub of Trading Standards' UK-wide operation fighting postal fraud. I'm here to visit the Scam Hub and see what they're doing to try and solve the persistent problem of scam mail. The team sees letters before they get to the victims and return money to those who've been scammed through the post. Louise Baxter has only been running this operation at national level for a year, but already they've had fantastic results. So far, they've returned almost £10 million to victims. So this is concentrating on scam that comes to you via mail, basically?
Via mail, yeah.
And how big a problem is that?
We estimate it's anywhere between £5 and £10 billion a year is lost to the UK.
Sorry, come again.
5
and
10
10 billion,
yes.
you said?
Yes.
Pounds?
Yes. Is lost.
It's lost
to the
by
UK.
Just mail scams?
Yes. Yeah, it's a huge problem.
Huge amount. Louise and her team go through sackloads of mail every week, building up a bigger picture of how scams work and looking for new ways to break the link between the scammers and their victims. We've got some examples here. So is this mail that has gone to several different people and you've collected it?
No, this is all from one victim's house.
What?
So this big bag here as well. This big bag here, that's all from one victim's house.
No.
Yep.
One person received
One
that
person received
over
this.
a year?
No, about a week I think this was.
A week?
Yep.
A week?
What happens?
They get that
they
in a
get
week?
That much mail. Some victims can get up to 100 pieces of mail a day.
So when someone gets a huge bag of mail delivered to their house by the postman, don't they get suspicious?
No, because what they're constantly told, it's reinforced that they definitely won. They've just got to send this extra £20 for their admin fee. The cheque's on the way. It's always urgent as well, so there's always a need for an urgent response to the mail.
Yeah, pressure.
Pressure don't tell anyone about it, otherwise you won't get your money. And it's always push, 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 push.
So someone who's got tons of mail coming to them, their name must be on some sort of list, am I right?
Yeah. What happens when you respond to one scam mail, so one, say, fake lottery, and you send off your details, and then generally you'll be asked for all of your personal details. So once you've responded with all of those details, your telephone, your bank details, your address, your email, your details are then sold on as part of what's called a suckers list, and sold on to other criminals as part of sort of an organised crime group, and sold on. So then you're targeted by lots of different companies all the time.
This one company has sent out hundreds of thousands of letters.
Yep.
And what is scary, and I've got to show this, and look at the amount of replies. These are £5 notes or cheques. Every single one of these letters has got a payment of £5, either in cash or cheques. Now, first of all, you track everybody down, you give them their money back, correct?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I must be holding a couple of £100 worth here.
Yeah.
How many of these have you seized?
In the latest seizure, we seized 14,000 bits of mail, but that was the 7th one of those that we've done throughout the country.
14,000 bits of mail with £5 attached?
Yes.
That's 70 grand?
Yeah.
So how do... This is just blowing me, because this is probably a man in his garage with a printer. That's what it is, and he's just sending them out to...
Quite possibly, yeah.
So the cost of doing this for these people is nothing.
No, it's minimal cost.
And 70 grand that people just send it to you in the post.
Yep.
How very friendly of them. So now, how do you get hold of these letters? How do you... Because you said that only 5% of it gets reported.
Yes.
So how do you get hold of these?
So we would go to... So say this mail here from a victim's house. We would look through this mail to identify new mail that's coming in and mail with any UK-based addresses on it. So this mail had a UK-based return address on it.
Right.
So once it's delivered to the UK, because it makes it look legitimate, it makes it look like they're based within the UK, we can go to that UK-based return address, and once the post is delivered, we can seize it.
Right, so you seize it basically to the place where everybody's sending their money?
Yeah, and we can seize that and stop it from going any further.
I still can't quite get over that this is all going to one person.
You'll often find with victims as well that they often buy lots of cheap items to enter the prize draws, so sometimes there might be a purchase necessary to win your money.
Right.
So you'll also find they'll have boxes. We had a man who'd got 69 pairs of pedicure scissors in his house and 100 false teeth cases, and he didn't have false teeth, which he'd bought to enter the prize draws.
We all get loads of junk mail, but unfortunately some junk mail that comes through is actually a scam. Often it's about lottery prizes that you've won, but you have to send about £50 to £100 to release these big winnings. Actually, if you reply to that, all you're going to be is then put on a list. Scammers hold these lists called suckers lists, that they know people who are liable to fall to certain types of scams, and they will just continue to target you time and time again. Other things might be people trying to contact you, saying they're a long-lost friend, and maybe they need your help for something. And of course there's a pattern of lies that go on, and then they get you to send money. Of course you don't know the person in the first place.
So in all your experience of looking through all these, meeting the victims, have you ever come across anyone who's made any money?
Not at the moment, not in my career. I haven't found anybody that's made any money. There are some companies that might send you small amounts, so we know that to keep you hooked, they might send you a small amount. So you'd send them £5,000 and they might send you £20 back. So you're receiving something to keep
What is the
hooked.
largest small amount of money?
About £27, I think.
27 pounds.
Yeah.
So they paid 5,000 to make 27?
Yeah.
Are you winning the battle?
It's a big battle, but we're getting there. We're getting there with it. We're making a dent in it. So from we've been a national team for just over a year, and in that time we've identified over 200,000 potential victims, and we've passed that information down to local authority trading standards for them to visit those victims.
So they pay them a visit and they try and explain to them that these things are not opportunities, these are scams.
Yes, and to stop them from being repeat victims, because we've often found that with a lot of our victims, they've actually been a scam victim for 20 years. So sending £20, £30, £40 a day for 20 years, we found victims who've lost in excess of £1 million. So individuals that have lost £1 million just from continuing to send money to different scams on a daily basis.
Beware of letters promising large wins and big prizes. They're scams, so just don't respond. Stay safe and don't send cash in order to make more money. You won't. Last year, there was a 12% increase in the number of people complaining about text spam. Scott McGreedy, our very own ethical hacker, is going to show us just how easy it can be to rip us off with these fake text messages. I believe you are going to show me something that's slightly alarming.
Yeah, I've built a little spam text robot.
That looks like something a hacker would build.
Yeah, it's quite fun. Something that I thought, you know, if I was a crook or a bad guy, how would I spam thousands of numbers from maybe a prepaid SIM? It can send a single text message to thousands and thousands of numbers. It can send several text messages from different numbers to thousands and thousands of numbers, or it can just, more worryingly, send thousands of messages to one person over a time period.
Now, because I know that there are websites where you can send a text message with whatever heading you want, and it comes from the website, so your number is not revealed. And those are legitimate websites that offer this service.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're offering it on the proviso that you're not doing anything illegal. Now, I've got a phone here. This belongs to one of the members of the crew. He does mobile banking. He communicates with his bank by text message. Now, I believe with that little bit of information, you can do something pretty sneaky.
Absolutely. We can hijack the messages from his bank, so I can purport to be his bank and get him to call a number of my choosing.
So, talk me through what you're going to do.
Yep, I'm going to send him a message purporting to be his bank, saying to call the fraud squad immediately. There's been a problem with his account or his cards. Hit send.
Oh, okay. So, a message came through here.
Excellent.
It's been added to the conversation that he's been having with his bank.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's no way of me knowing that it's not coming from your bank.
No.
I can't trace that back to you.
No.
Right, okay, let's call the number. Call.
I can impersonate a bank, I can impersonate an institution, even a pizza delivery company.
What can I do to find out that that is coming from a scammer?
I would say any message you receive from your bank asking you to call a number, Google the name of the bank, Google their number, contact your bank directly.
Or go into the bank.
And speak to someone face to face. It's the only safe way. This costs very, very little to do, and it can be done with anyone with a laptop.
That is worrying.
That is very worrying. When it's that easy to access, it opens a door to not seriously organised criminals, but opportunist criminals.
And I'm assuming that if you do a little bit of social engineering, so you know my name, you know my number, friends, members of the family, and you can pretend to be them, sending a text message with any sort of bad link or bad information on it.
Yeah.
So, hi, Mum here.
And of course you're going to click on it.
Look at this funny link
that
I found. And you're going to click on it.
Yeah.
Now, there's no need to get panicked about this, because as long as we keep one thing simple in our heads, we're going to be safe. And that is, no matter whether you're dealing with a phone call, a text message, or an email, anytime anyone asks you to click on a link, open an attachment, or give any sort of personal information away, you've got to be skeptical. And you've got to verify who's on the other end of that text message, that email, that phone call. Whether it says mum, dad, bank, insurance company, you have to assume that someone can copy that, okay? As long as you follow those rules, you're going to be fine.